So we're going to do basic circuit drill a few times and then we'll break it down into detail after. Opponent has me in his guard. Probably best if you're in the guard side to just lightly get control of something. Like you don't want to be a dead fish with your arms up here doing nothing. Just lightly control something. Okay, I'm going to take one hand, put it on his sternum. Take the other hand, put it on his hip. There's a reason for both of these. Got good posture, my knees are in tight. Sort of looking down my nose at him. I don't want to be down here, or he can just pull me in your guard tighter. Now my hand on his sternum, just under the rib cage there. I don't want it too high. Right on his sternum, stops him from being able to sit up. My hands are here, he can sit up and grab my head or my elbows and pull me into his guard. If I've got one hand just under his sternum here pushing him down, he tries to sit up, he's not going to get up. The one on the hip stops him from chasing my hips up. So the next part of the pass, I'm going to push his hip and sternum into the mat and put my knee into his butt. And then cut back on an angle to open his legs. If I don't push down on his hip, every time I try to put my knee in his butt, his hips are going to elevate. Yeah, now I can't break it, but if I push his hip into the mat, now it makes it hard for him to be able to follow my hips. So, it's part one of the guard pass. I've got good posture, I'm tied in, I'm down on my heels. I don't want my center of gravity up high here where he can just sort of pull me over and make me break my balance. So I'm quite low down on my heels. One hand under the sternum, one on the hip. Got good posture. Always think like a proud gorilla in a silverback, big chest. I'm gonna be like this, all shrunken in. Knee goes to the center of his butt, and I'll cut my angle. As soon as I get to here, I want to pull both my elbows in towards my ribs. Don't want to leave my arms out. Yeah, we'll start looking for triangles and things like that. So both elbows come under. I'll then dig under one leg and shoulder halfway through his calf muscle. Don't want to be in his knee joint here, reckon heavy leg. Halfway through the calf, I'll reach towards his collar here. His hand can start cupping his leg, sprawl and circle, come down and control his shoulder line, hand lock his hip. So once more, 1, 2, knee to the center, cut my angle, elbows are in, shoulder that calf muscle, stack in a bit, go to the opposite side of his head with my hand and start looking for the collar. Shrug around, chest to chest, blocking his hip and down into the side of his neck. Just one more detail with the breaking the posture part. I don't want this hand too high. If I put it up on his chest here, it becomes easy for him to armbar me. Just by putting it this far back, now every time he goes to that armbar, this elbow is going to be very easy to pull through the hole. So there's a big difference between high on the chest and right on the diaphragm there, just under the sternum. So it's also acceptable to get control of his collar like this and punch through the same spot, and same on the hip. So you can get a handful of material, sort of like training wheels, so you know where you are. Posture, knee to the center, open that guard, swing through, shoulder, sprawl it. Look, I'm stacking, I bring my head over Darko's head, but I don't want to stack too much. I don't want to like pressure my opponent's neck and send him to hospital. I just want to stack him enough to get his hips off the mat and control them. Circle, chest to chest, and scroll on. So, I actually do one without Darko in there. Just to use, I don't know if you can see those lines on the mat, but I think you can. I'm gonna put my knee in and I cut my hips so they're actually 45 degrees now to where I was facing. So we're here and I'll cut my hips on the 45. That now makes the distance this long for him to shut his guard around instead of this long. And that's what opens it. Darko can see we good. So I'm not driving my elbows into the inside of his thighs. That can work, but if he's got a big pain threshold, it won't work. And it's not jiu-jitsu, that's like using strength. You want to use leverage whenever you can. So watch the hip separation. That's what opens his guard. Look, now my knee's in his butt. It's impossible for him to close his guard there. Come around, stuck up. I put my knee on the mat behind him here and block his butt so he can't get his hips to the mat. If I was like this, yeah, he's got hip play now and he can start squaring up. So I block it like that. As I circle, square. That's passing the guard. So we're going to show you going to mount from side control. We've got a side control position. My elbow down next to his neck, breaking his posture a bit. My other hand blocking his hip, sprawling on his shoulder line. I'm going to switch my base, pull the far knee towards me, and kill the cockroach on the mat. Circle the mount. Do that going the other way. Before I do, I just want to point out, I'm pinning his shoulder line, not his belly line. Big beginner mistake. To be sitting down here in your side control now, Darko's got so much movement here, he can pretty much just sit up and push me out. Whereas if I'm on his shoulder line, rather than on his belly, this shuts him down hips more. So we're in this position, I switch my base, pull that far knee, kill the cockroach, go to mount. So my opponent's got mount on me. First thing I want to do is collect an arm and I get a 2-on-1 and pin it to my chest. This is very important. If I just sort of grab it lightly, he's going to rip the arm out every time. I also don't want to dominate it with grip strength here because it can beat that as well. I just make cups and sink my elbows down to my ribs, and now it's like a lead weight. Even when he's trying to do it, I can have a conversation and I'm stuck to it. If he pulls right up, I'll actually raise up with him. Yeah, there. Okay, so I'm stuck to it rather than trying to bicep curl it. That arm's dominated. I'm going to pull this elbow in so it's blocking his knee and then trap his foot. Once I get here, I can bump my hips to the sky and then I roll off on an angle this way. As soon as I'm in top, block his biceps, get a good dominant position, you can start building your guard pass. So, once more, he's got that mount position on me. I'm going to take one arm, suck it into my body, make sure those elbows are tight. It's like a lead blanket holding. Elbow pin so he can't bring his knee up, trap his foot. I bump my hips up and roll off to the side. Straight away blocking his arms out, build my posture, start looking for a pass. Just do a few little explanations. You think about like you're trying to roll a tree branch. What we're doing, a tree log, what we're doing is shutting down the branches on that log. If he's got just one branch, I can trap his foot, but if I go this way, his hand goes out on the mat. I can trap his hand, but if I don't trap his foot goes out on the mat. So we're trapping the same side, arm and leg, and then going to that side that they're both trapped. Hips are up, roll, dominate position, start building your pass. It's bridge and roll.